Hey everyone, today I have Scott Thomas with me, trying to have a little fun today. Scott is one of the largest barbecue and grilling Instagram folks out there in the entire world. So it's getting to be grilling time. I know right now it's raining pretty good where I'm at, but it's time, so people have a lot of free time on their hands. So figure why not talk to the man about grilling.
Yeah, grilling is big right now. I think I started getting into doing this grilling as a sort of a career, a hobby that turned a career in 2008 and 2009 when we had the last recession, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to barbecue. It was back then. It was going out to restaurants was evil. It was just a waste of money. You don't want to go out to restaurants. So all these guys bought all these $1,000 Kamados. You know what I mean? I'll save some money. I'll spend $1,000 on a grill, and that put the Big Green Egg on the map, and it really launched barbecue into a lot more homes than it had been previously.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That leads into a question that I hadn't thought of. So you created this during a time of turmoil. Is that what I'm hearing?
I created it during a time of boredom, and I needed I did it as sort of a tax shelter for meat and charcoal and the occasional grill, and I never thought I would ever make any money doing it. I never really thought that there would be a thing, and like I remember talking to a buddy of mine who wound up being my web guy. It was a coworker of mine at the time. And I said, if I could make 10 grand a year from this as a nice little just side hobby, that's almost $1,000 a month. I mean, that's a nice little chunk of change.
Yeah, for a hobby.
Yeah, but it's I have gigs now where I get paid $10,000 to take a picture. You know what I mean? Yeah. I never thought I was just literally just a tax shelter for just barbecue. And then I figured in 3 years I'll just change the name and start over when the IRS tells me it's a hobby. You know what I mean? Like, we'll just do it again.
Well, needless to say, I've never heard anyone say that I needed a tax shelter for meat and briskets and all that stuff. So that's awesome. I have to, that's just so funny. So I have to ask you out of the gate, just, are you strictly a charcoal guy, gas, or do you love everything?
So I was the biggest charcoal snob. Somebody was talking about cooking on a gas grill. I'm like, why don't you just wheel the stove right on out on the patio and cook on that? Hike up your skirt a little bit there, pal. But then I had kids. Right. So I probably use gas more than anything now. I use gas. It's kind of like, I like to tell people that gas is my weekday, fix. That's how I can grill, I can at 5 o'clock I can be grilling and get you can't throw a brisket at 4:30 in the afternoon and feed your kids before the next day,
right?
But I can grill something hot and fast on gas, and then weekends is charcoal, or actually there's a pellet grill right here, my Green Mountain Grill. I use pellets a lot. Again, I wasn't a pellet guy until I had kids, and that's much more works for my lifestyle. For Thanksgiving, I cook my turkey and my ham out here, and I set it in there and I get it going. I know exactly when it's going to be done. I don't have to guess. I'm not, there's an app on my phone. It tells me how much time is left and, when it's going to be ready to go. And I could adjust the temperature from from the couch, if it's snowing outside or whatever. So,
hey, I can't help but ask, do the OGs of barbecuing, do they scoff at the apps and all the new technology that exists today?
It's not the apps. They scoff at pellets. They think the pellets are not real, and most of them have stick burners. And stick burners are you're using real wood logs. And stick burners make great barbecue. And so the purest of the purest thing, that's the only way to cook is stick burners. But then again, when you go to the big barbecue contests, the American Royal and the Memphis in May, the two biggest barbecue contests in the world, it's not 1 through 10 on the winners. It's all stick burners, right? It's here's a couple pellet guys, here's some charcoal guys, here's whatever. So it's, and the thing with the stick burners, there's a lot of work, a lot of maintenance. You got to play with those vents, and you got to keep screwing around with them. So, like if you're going to cook a brisket on a stick burner, you're starting the night before, and you're getting up a couple of times to screw with your grill. So I've never had anybody come up to me in a party and go, "Hey man, how much sleep did you lose last night cooking this thing?" You know what I mean? Like, no, nobody cares. If you want to wear that badge of honor, good luck. You know what? That's you. That's not my lifestyle, man. I want to get a good night's sleep, so I'm not a pain in the ass at the party. I want to enjoy my friends' company. I don't want to be like, get the hell out of here so I can go take a nap because I just was up all night trying to cook you guys brisket, right? But these people that they wear it like it's a badge of honor, and anybody else is do is a lesser person.
Right.
Oh, fine. See ya.
Yeah, yeah, a little too much. You mentioned earlier grilling for the family and how you like to go gas during the week and brisket in the weekend. What is the go-to for you and your family
Oh man, it's
to
like
grill? Obviously,
there's a lot of stuff. I mean, my wife loves grilled pizzas. I do these little flatbread pizzas. We just did this a couple nights ago. The kids, you know, my kids love lamb, although I have 4 kids. My youngest is a 4-year-old little girl, and I can't tell that they're meat lollipops. She loves meat lollipops. You tell them they're lamb, she goes, no lamb,
yeah,
no lamb. Not the cute little fuzzy lambs. Yeah, they're delicious.
right.
So that's I'm going to do some lamb this weekend. I'm going to do an Instagram live with somebody on the West Coast, and we're both going to do lamb at the same time. So it varies. I mean, I do so many things. I have to do so many things. I can't just keep the same staples. You know, so I'm always, you know, experimenting with new stuff and trying new things and playing around with stuff that I can't really get to a specific.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. So most kids, my kids, especially Hadley, she's 9. She likes this, and this, right?
Right.
Because you're so into grilling, are your kids more open to try new things?
I have one that's kind of he eats with his eyes very much, you know. So he looks at something and he goes, "I don't like that." Like, you've eaten that literally 50 times, right? And just in the last 2 years, you love that. I don't like it. So like he you know, he doesn't like the pizzas. I don't know why he doesn't like the pizza. He doesn't like the thin pizzas. He doesn't like, because I do. It's like, so we'll make him hot dogs. He doesn't want him any grill marks on him. And I don't like that black stuff on there. That's a char. But he's not tasting it. He's not open minded about it. He's just deciding, I don't like that. So, but the rest of them, are pretty wide open. I mean, a fish is kind of a no go. They don't really like. None of them like shrimp, scallops, mussels, and clams. They love. You know, a good piece of halibut. You know what I mean? Yeah. Salmon. So I don't get much of that. But the rest of it, they're, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think I had at one point, I think the 2 older boys were 3 and 5, and they were flipping their steaks on the grill. I take a chair and turn it around so they lean against the back of the chair so they couldn't fall into the grill.
Right.
Yeah. Don't tell DFS about that.
Right,
that's
right.
my very safe, or OSHA. I think that's double. You know, workplace.
I felt like that was a mandatory disclaimer right there.
Right. They're fine. You know, like 12 and 10 now. That's 5 years ago, 7 years ago. They're great.
That was just that one time. That was it.
It was just that one skin graft. It was cool. It was all right. So yeah, they eat a lot. I mean, and they eat well. They have no idea how well they eat. They don't like how often we eat steak. I mean, but they eat a lot of cold stuff because, like, you know, the rule around this house, the camera eats first, right? I mean, we have to get. So I'll be cooking. Like today, we bought $200 worth of fish, and we cooked a bunch of it, and you know, by the time we got all our shots, not a lot of it was hot. So, you know, sometimes you can throw it back on, but sometimes it'll dry it out. So but they eat well.
You mentioned fish, and that was one of the things I want to ask you about, because for me, fish just intimidates the heck out of me. I feel like you can screw it up so easily. So I was I was contemplating fixing some mahi tuna and just kind of think about what do I need to pay attention to?
So fish it requires some patience because you can't touch it. You got to put it on there and leave it go, because if you try to move it before it's ready to go, you're just going to destroy it. Especially everybody likes light flaky fish, right? That's our thing in the United States is light flaky fish. So 2 things you need. Your grill's got to be hot before it goes on. Clean. If you haven't given a good brush, and I'm not talking like, you know, you got to scrub it down after every time you grill. I'm talking like right before you grill, turn your grill on, let it get hot, let the grease kind of warm up, and then hit it with a brush. Just kind of get the gunk off. That's it. I'm not talking, you know, taking a SOS pad to it, you know, every time you grill.
Right.
But you take the 2 things you want. You want skin as your friend. So like if you have a salmon, leave skin, put the skin side down. That skin will hold the fish together. You never really have to flip it over. You just cook it kind of in somewhat direct, as long as it's not too hot. And the whole thing will cook through, and that skin will insulate enough where it won't burn on the bottom. And there's enough oil and fats in there. All that's great. The other thing is a little fat. The problem with is it sticks because there's not enough fat in it. So rub a little fat, little oil on the outside of your fish when you put it on the grill. And this is the same thing people do this with hamburgers all the time. They put a hamburger on the grill, that wet, the cold, wet, ground beef, and it hits the grill, and they don't wait long enough, and they take their spatula and they get in there and they flip it over, and half the burger is still stuck to the grill grates, right?
I've been there. Yep.
You've seen it. So the same thing happens with fish, but it's way worse because the fish has less holding it together, right?
Yeah.
So, and what you do is you want to give it a little nudge from the side and see if it's let go, because once it's done browning, it'll release from the metal. It'll just let go of the metal. It will stop gripping it. It's because it's cold and it's not cooked through. Once it cooks through, it lets go, and then you can get your spatula underneath there and flip it. So give a little nudge. If it's not budging, stand back.
Yeah.
Have another couple of drinks of your beer, whatever it is. Wait a little bit, and then give a little nudge against it. Hamburger, whatever. Give it that little nudge, and then flip it. If you want to cheat a little, grill pan, little holes in it.
Right.
But I've seen people mangle that stuff too, because again, they think that they're safe, and they start to flip it, and it's still gripping the pan pretty good. So now you have this great browning still stuck to the pan, and you just flipped your fish over and the crust is not there, and you're like, it's partially cooked now, and yeah, it's
no good.
But it takes a little practice, man. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. Well, that's with everything going on with the shutdown, people have more time. So is there something out there that maybe you think people are commonly view it as intimidating, but it's really not, that you would encourage them to try on the grill?
Prime rib. So, you go buy a roast, 2, 3, 4 bone roast, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Bone in or bone out, doesn't matter, but you buy that and it's a lot of money. And you're like, oh man, if I screw this up, right? So that's the thing is what goes with this as equipment is that buy an instant read thermometer, a Thermapen. I think the Model 3s are $70 or $80. The MK4s are $120. They're worth every penny. I must have 4 or 5 of them. I know I have one in that drawer right over there because I was cooking on it, using it today. And I have 2 or 3 more inside. My wife uses one. There's a pink one for her. So when she wants to check the chicken in the oven, when she bakes something. But prime rib is basically ribeye, and there's a lot of fat. And there's a really, they call it a ribeye, is that eye of fat that runs through the whole cut. That helps keep it moist and juicy from the inside. It'll melt and keep basting it from the inside. So that's extra, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little extra leeway, a little wiggle room for, between screwed up and not screwed up, right? You have a lot more space there to get it right. Mm-hmm. So, and it really takes is you indirect it, have your instant read thermometer or even some sort of probe thermometer that you can have a readout on the side of your grill. I firmly believe in this stuff. I know people that, they just want to go, I can look at it and I can tell it's done. Can you? I bet you screw that up every now and then. And if you do a couple of prime ribs, that's the same price as one of those Thermapens. So I mean, think about where what an investment in that could save you this. So set up your charcoal on one side, smoke wood on top of the charcoal. Put your prime rib on the other side. Smoke it until it hits to like 120, and then crank up your grill and sear the crap out of the outside of it. And that's it. And it's called reverse sear. It's amazing. If you don't have charcoal, you have gas, turn on your far burner on one side, and take like a foil pouch or a metal box. They make these smoke boxes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But all you need is a foil. You take a sheet of foil, lay it down. You put a handful of dry wood chips on top of it. Wad that up into a ball. Put that right down as close as you can to the burner, to the actual fire. You can take the grill grate off and maybe put it right on the burner, and it'll smoke. You just made an instant smoker. You put your meat on the far side away from that, close the lid, smoke it until it gets to, 120, and then take it over and sear it, or 130 if you want it more medium. I like it. Mine's pretty rare, so 120.
Yeah.
Go up another 10, 15 degrees, and it'll be 135 and be ready to go.
So you're definitely speaking my language. Ribeyes are my favorite. When you mentioned guys that are just kind of anti using any technology, I couldn't help but think that they're also the guys that will be lost for 45 minutes to an hour and refuse to get directions or use GPS or anything.
All right. I got to tell a story about my dad. My dad,
right?
Okay. So my dad is a kid, and I'm not telling you anything new. He's heard the story 100 times. So as a kid, I never touched the grill. I never got to you don't touch another man's grill. I went to college before I really used a grill. And when I was a kid, my mom would, stick her head out the door and go, "Hey, when's dinner going to be ready?" She's got, I got the, whatever sides in, I got to get drinks ready, get that table set. And my dad wouldn't look at the grill. He'd look at his beer. And he'd say, maybe about a half a beer, he'd go, "Yeah, about 15 minutes. If he had a full beer, he'd go, "It'd be about 30 minutes.
That is awesome.
The only time he looked at the grill is if he was empty. And he'd then he'd maybe, open up the grill and he'd look back at his beer, look back at the grill, and he'd go get another one. About 30 minutes. So Dad overcooked a lot of stuff. Dad now is a proud owner of more than one Thermapen, so he doesn't burn stuff nearly as often as he used. He doesn't really burn stuff anymore, but
yeah,
he used to overcook a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
because he was just, he worked hard. He worked 12-hour days, 6 days a week. He had one day off.
It's about the experience, right?
And it was more about him just, relax and not having to deal with anything. Nobody came over, his son wasn't interested in barbecue at the time. His daughter wasn't. His wife really only cared about, when it was done so he could go out there and escape. God bless him. You know what I mean?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie that, we had a steady supply of A1. Just going to say it.
That is too funny. Too funny. I can't help it. We talked about this earlier, but the meat shortage. I feel like I have to ask you, what are your thoughts on this? When we looked at the toilet paper happening, there was no warning that there was that the plants were closing, right? And yet we had a shortage of toilet paper. Everyone is aware of that. We still have a shortage, but now we're recognizing that we're hearing everywhere about the plants closing. I can't help but think it's going to be the exact same thing, if not worse, to be honest with you.
I don't think it's going to be worse because there's a difference. With toilet paper, if you don't use it right away, it can sit in your garage, right? I mean, there's a finite amount of freezer space that people have.
True.
So that's a saving grace. I do believe though that we're going to have to step out of our comfort zone on what cuts we're going to want. Around. What the hell is that? You know what I mean? London, what? London broil? Do we broil it? I mean, it says broil, right? I mean, no matter what you do with it, it's going to be tough. All right. Slice it thin across the grain. So you're going to have to be, get creative because you're going to be, I remember when this first happened, when it was like mid-March, right? When we were all kind of walking through my grocery store and seeing a sign that said, I never thought I'd see this. I mean, but it was a piece of butcher paper torn off about like this, and it was in the case, and somebody written on it, "We are completely out of hamburger." I never, that's the kind of stuff you would hear about, in communist Russia, meat lines and, bread lines and things like that. Never thought I'd see it here. But here's the thing. There's a whole lot of people that rely on restaurants and, and takeout and fast food to eat. And they're afraid to go anywhere. And so now they got to figure, and they're like, I don't really cook, but I can make a hamburger. So hamburgers, hot dogs, and ramen noodles were real hard to come by for a long time. My kids dig ramen noodles, man. I couldn't find ramen noodles for a month.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'm finding it now, but I still have I have not seen a roll of toilet paper in a grocery store in more than a month. I don't know if I'm just going at the wrong times, but I've seen paper towels, but I haven't seen a single roll of toilet paper. I mean, and we're good. Right before this all happened, I picked up a Sam size thing when I picked up a cake for my daughter's birthday and early March. So we're good, but I kind of look, but I'm not struggling. It's not about to go out hard, but I haven't seen it, but I don't think the meat's going to be as bad. I just think that it's going to be, there's just so much freezer. I mean, if you don't use the meat, it goes bad, right? Or you can freeze it, but then again, you've only got so much freezer space. So, I don't think it's going to be as bad as toilet paper just because, I can throw toilet paper in my garage and leave it there for 5 years and it'll still be fine.
For sure.
And there are people that have 5 years worth of toilet paper in their garages right now.
Which is insane. But
you know who you are, you sons of bitches. All right.
Hey, one last question. Grilling is typically thought of as obviously the protein. What's something that is that you found to be something that you and your family love that's fairly easy that is not protein?
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there, and it's contrary to Gordon Ramsay's opinion, but grilled lettuce. And Gordon Ramsay like rips to this, and so every time I talk about this, somebody goes, "Well, Gordon Ramsay says that sucks." I'm like, "Well, Gordon Ramsay's paid to get ratings, and if he wants to say something sucks, that might get him some ratings." Yeah. So I do this all the time. It's just take a head of romaine, pull off the outer leafy, the big leaves that are just kind of, until you have, it looks like a giant heart of romaine. So they're all kind of torpedo shaped. Slice it down the middle, lay it into 2 halves. Drizzle olive oil on it. Now you're going to want to put it flat side down first, because when you coat it all the way around, if you have it flat side down last, all the stuff you just put on is going to stick to the cutting board. So put it flat side down first, drizzle with olive oil, salt, pepper, little granulated garlic. Okay, that's it. Then just do that all the way around. Go out to your grill and make sure it's hot. How hot? How do you know? You hold your hand over, an inch above the grill grate, just an inch above there. And if you can get to 3 or 4 Mississippi, it's not hot enough. If you get down there and you go 1 Mississippi, yeah, that's good. That's hot. Okay, that's where you want to be. If you can get to a full Mississippi, you're right there. If you can get to 2, 3, 4 Mississippi, you need to turn it up a little higher. Throw that right on the grill, and just get a char on it. So it just black and browns a little, right? And then you rotate it. It's basically like 3 sides. You have the flat side that you cut down the middle, and then it's rounded. So it's almost like a triangle. So char it all the way around. You'll lose a couple of leaves or partial leaves when this happens. It'll start to open up, and you just discard them, whatever. And just go char them, and then pull them off and just sprinkle some grated Asiago or grated Parmesan. Not that stuff in that green can that's been in your fridge for 6.5 years. Right. I'm talking about some fresh grated stuff. And that block of that stuff that the green can is made of will stay in your fridge for years. If you even a side of it gets blue because it's a little bit of mold on it, just cut that chunk off, and it's still good. So please use regular Parmesan or regular Asiago or whatever, and just grate that on there, and that's it. Just don't eat the base. You have to keep the base on there because otherwise all the leaves fall apart. But the base grit can get down to the bottom, so don't eat the bottom like 2-3 inches. Gotcha. But just chop it up, and you want to do it pretty quickly right after you bring it off the grill. You don't want to let that sit for a while because it'll wilt. So this is something that I tell people: you grill some steaks, pull them off, let them rest for a little bit. While they're resting, you throw your lettuce on the grill, and then throw the half of a side of a romaine next to a steak, and there's a meal right there. Because it takes 3 minutes. Like literally, do not put the lettuce on the grill and go take a leak or go get a beer or take a phone call or anything. This stuff's going to be done in like it's if it takes 3-4 minutes to do the whole thing, I'd be surprised. So
to use your dad's beer thing, it's like 1 sip. Is that
you like put it on there, sip, rotate, sip, rotate. Not quite that bad, but it's you're not you can't even go inside and grab because it'll go fast. It doesn't take long. But what happens is there's sugars inside that lettuce lettuce is just a vehicle to get the Caesar salad dressing to your mouth, right? I mean, there's really nothing to it. It's a texture thing more than anything. Like you put it on a burger, but when you char it, it brings out some of the natural sugars in there, and it gives it a flavor that you don't see. And so, despite what Gordon Ramsay says, anybody that actually tastes it goes, "Holy shit, that's really good." You grilled what? You grilled a salad? Yeah, I grilled salad. Come on, there you go.
I've never heard of that. I'm going to have to give that a try. And I can't help but think about guys are poking fun that you're the grilling guy and it's lettuce, right?
So let me tell you, so that's how it started. This guy, before I really started the website, I was on this football site, and in the off season, we would talk about grilling and we would share recipes and stuff we were doing. And we were putting pictures like on Image Shack, and I don't even know what the other ones were, but they were whatever picture sharing. Do you even have those anymore? Is Image Shack still a thing? I don't know. But I one day I realized we've been doing this for like 3 years. I'm like, I got enough to start a blog, and so I started the website. But one of those guys told me about grill and lettuce, and I gave him so much grief. I was like, dude, turn in the man card, and he'd tell me about it again. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be at a sale at Bed Bath & Beyond right now? I mean, there's a duvet cover that's not going to buy itself, pal. I'm not even sure what a duvet cover is. And so he went back and forth. So one day it might have been Mother's Day at my house, and we had like 30 people there. And we grilled burgers and brats and dogs for a big crowd. And I had one head I was like, I'm going to try this thing. And I had this one head of romaine in the fridge, and I I cut it in half and I season it, and I'm walking and I'm preparing it, and people are walking by going, "Hey, what you got there, man?" I'm like, "I'm about to grill some lettuce," and they're like, "Turn in your man card. Aren't you supposed to be at bed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard all these because I used them too."
Right.
And so I went out to the grill and I did this thing. And it didn't take long, and they are just mercilessly. All my uncles, just shredding me, and I cut it all up, and I had like 8 forks, and I just handed forks, and I was like, "Here," and it was gone, and so fast. It was like oh my God, it's so good. And I wished I had made more of them, because not everybody who gave me grief got to taste it. So it wasn't until everybody got to taste it like a year later that they stopped giving me crap about it. But like 6 months later, you're like, "Hey man, you still making that salad on the grill?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's delicious. You should try it." I'm like, "I'm not doing that. I want to keep my man card."
Right.
I'm like, oh.
Too funny. Yeah. One last question. How many grills do you have? I see 2 behind you, but I know you have more. So how many grills do you own?
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on my deck right now.
Man.
And I've got in the garage, I've got 2 more. Well, no, I've got 4 more in the garage, so it's 11. So, and there's a rule, like I'm not allowed to take any more in unless I get rid of them. So
those are some nice tax deductions though. So that's awesome.
So yeah, I sell some of them. I give a lot away. I just, I'm just like, "Hey, you need a grill? Let me help you out." I got a grill a brand I worked with last year, and said, let's do something next summer. And it's the only grill that has a cover on it. I'm like, the grills are to be used. I got a lid up here. I put a $15,000 lid on my grills. There you go. So, but the grills in the garage are mainly travel grills, stuff that I go to do events with, and, so I can throw them in the back of the car.
Well, you pretty much have the dream job. I mean, you talk, you grill all day long, not all day long, but you grill a ton. You're talking to people. You talk to you talk to the biggest people in the world in barbecuing and grilling. So kudos for you for starting a little side gig and it turning into something that's huge. Again, one of the top Instagram grilling and barbecue people in the world. It's at GrillinFools.com, and your website's GrillinFools.com.
Yeah, and Instagram at GrillinFools, and then I have Build Digital Marketing. So if you know anybody that needs help managing social media, we mainly work in food, but anything that's kind of visually appealing works. We had somebody asked us to run their feed, and it was a experience coach or a life coach, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do your feed with a bunch of, with a bunch of quotes. You know what I mean? I don't know how to do social media with just quotes.
That's not your thing.
Not really visual, so that doesn't work. But, so we're selective in who we take, but, and we kind of like we, here in town, local Sugar Fire, we take care of Sugar Fire social media. So, it's
great.
It's another avenue that's just kind of came, that came out of necessity. Is people were like, "Hey, can you do it for us?" And we're like, actually, Sugar Fire, Mike Johnson said, "Hey, we were trying to teach him. We train people how to do social media." And he goes, "Yeah, I know you can teach me, but I don't have time to do it. What would you pay to, what would you charge me to do it for me?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, let me know so I can write you a check," which is a pretty good business model to have, you know what I mean? But I was like, Mike, I got to get back to you. I'm like, I have no idea what I would charge for that. So I had a couple months and I had to think about it and, kind of process in my head. And then, and we've been running there for a couple of years now. So,
Very cool. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
It was great talking to you. This is a lot of fun. I appreciate everything. And thanks for your time.
You got my number. If you ever need any grilling questions, man, I'm always available. Always.
Cool.
I mean, unless I'm doing one of these.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Have a good one.
Thank you, man.
Bye.